Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today is a bit of a heavier video. I really can't believe that I'm even having to make a video like this. It really just feels like trans people just cannot catch a fucking break nowadays in the eyes of the media, in the eyes of the general public. So today, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about the TSA airport security scene and how and why it is transphobic. So I wasn't planning on making a video like this. I have had my own experiences with the TSA. I've had my own negative moments where I was frisked or I had a pat-down search done on me just because of the way that their screening works. But I was scrolling through Twitter today and I saw a story pop up about this teenage girl and her mother who are filing a federal lawsuit against the TSA because of the way that she was treated. So I'll go ahead and link this article in the description of the video so you can go and read for yourself. Here we're just going to cover some basic points and kind of get a gist of what happened. A Rayleigh mother has filed a federal lawsuit against the TSA, arguing that the airport security agency violated her transgender teenager's rights by requiring a strip search at the airport. Jamie Irway, 15, had a valid boarding pass when she passed through security in 2019. When she triggered a false positive, the lawsuit said, a TSA screener told her she would have to have her genitals inspected in a private room. So, of course, when the poor teenager Jamie realized that she was going to be strip searched and, basically felt up by a TSA agent, she started to panic. She was experiencing some anxiety, a lot of fear, her heart was racing, she couldn't breathe. And rather than submit to the search, her and her mom ended up just renting a car and driving over 600 miles to get to where they were going. Imagine looking a 15-year-old, a child, literally just someone who's barely a teenager, and saying, hey, you flagged as having the wrong genitalia on our machine, so we're gonna have to touch you now. We're gonna have to basically fill up your junk. That's obviously really triggering and very problematic to say to a trans person, especially such a young trans person. It's just really frustrating. When I read that article and when I first heard about the story, I was like, I wasn't even surprised because, like I said, I've had issues with the TSA in the past where before I had top surgery, I was going through the TSA scanner and they flagged me for a false positive because of my chest. They ended up taking me into like one of their back screening rooms or whatever the fuck they're called, and they did end up doing a frisk search and a pat down on me just because my chest flagged their scanners. And then another time I was going through TSA, I put my needles, my syringes, and my testosterone into my carry-on instead of my checked baggage, which was my first mistake. And then my second mistake was I didn't have my prescription label with me, so when my bag went through their machine, their x-ray machine, of course it got flagged because of the needles and the syringes. And luckily my name was on the label of the testosterone box, Both times that I got stopped by the TSA agents at airport security, I basically was either outed or I had to out myself to random strangers. And whoever nearby was listening, And of course it's human nature to turn and, fucking gawk at whatever if somebody's being stopped by airport security. So, and the really sad thing is this story about Jamie happened in 2019, and since then there's been countless other cases that have come out against the TSA for their transphobic procedures. So on the TSA's actual website, I have it pulled up here, they have a whole section on their website about transgender passengers. So here's what it says. TSA recognizes the concerns that some members of the transgender community may have with certain security screening procedures at the nation's security checkpoints. The TSA is committed to ensuring all travelers are treated with respect and courtesy. Screening is conducted without regard to a person's race, color, sex, gender identity, national origin, religion, or disability. Which we know gender identity and sex are not true, because if it was true, there wouldn't be a transgender passenger section on your website. And of course, if you scroll down, it says prior to the airport, how to make reservations, how to pack your bags for your prescriptions and things like that, which I should have read before I just left mine without my prescription and everything. And then here is the overview of their screening process that it says here. It says, when you enter the imaging portal, the TSA officer presses a button designating a gender, male/female, based on how you present yourself, which is already an issue. The machine has software that looks at the anatomy of men and women differently. If there is an alarm, TSA officers are trained to clear the alarm, not the individual. Additional screening is conducted to determine whether a prohibited item is present. If you cannot or choose not to be screened by advanced imaging technology or a walk-through metal detector, you will undergo a pat-down procedure instead. So there's already some red flags here that I can see right off the bat on their website. Basically what they said is there's a pink and a blue button, and whichever I see when I look at you, I'm gonna press that button. And if your body does not match what the computer is programmed to look for, then you're subject to a search. There was an instance where a non-binary transgender woman, Rosalind Montoya, she posted about this on her TikTok account.
Can we talk about how horrible it is to travel while being transgender sometimes? I always have immense anxiety leading up to going through security. And this being said, I totally recognize the privilege of having all of my documents correct. So the gender marker on my license, for example, says female. But going through the scanner, there's a male scanner and a female scanner in the TSA checkpoint. And looking at me, you know, I look like a woman and I am a woman, so that's great. I love having cis-assuming privilege when I feel unsafe, such as in an airport. But going through the scanner, I always have an anomaly between my legs that sets off the alarm. And so she asked me if I had anything in my pants, and I told her no. And she's like, well, maybe it's just like the metal on your shorts, so let's scan you again. So I did, and then it set it off again. And I was like, look, I'm trans, just pat me down. And her solution was, do you want to be scanned as a man instead? I didn't, but I ended up doing it, and then my boobs set off the scanner because of course. So I tried to make a joke of it. I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of plastic in there, it's fine. So then she was like, okay, well, we have to pat you down. And she was like, do you want a man to do it? I said, no, absolutely not.
So it wasn't an issue of passing or anything like that, because they pass as a woman, they have everything changed on their like legal documents. It was literally just a matter of the TSA agent pressed the pink button, and when it scanned their body, it flagged an anomaly, which is just like super, super humiliating, because again, at that point, when you get flagged initially, they give you the option to either do the pat down search or you can get scanned again. But the only way that they'll scan you again is if you look at the TSA agent and you tell them, oh, I'm trans. It really just seems like they're targeting trans people specifically with this. It's just not a good situation to be in either way, you know what I mean? And there have been countless complaints against the TSA in the past, and even now, it honestly does not seem like it's gotten any better since the complaints started rolling in. This website here says that a 2015 survey conducted by the US Transgender Society showed that among those who had passed through airport security, 43% had at least one problem due to their gender identity. Of those problems, 4% involved people being asked to lift or take off their clothing. How humiliating is that? As a trans person, maybe, like I said earlier, you haven't had top surgery, you haven't had any sort of gender reassignment surgeries or anything, and so you're going through, maybe you're wearing a binder, or maybe you're wearing like a padded bra, maybe you have a prosthetic on down low, and imagine a random stranger taking you to a private room or just taking you aside to let the line go and saying, hey, lift up your shirt. Like, how humiliating and dysphoria inducing is that, you know? What I do not understand is why TSA treats gender as such a binary life or death thing. Like, the planes aren't separated by gender. Men don't fly on one plane and women don't fly on another plane. Everybody flies together. Like, gender identity is not relevant for flight travel. It's really not. Like, there's no reason. Why are you separating and scanning people based off of their gender? And why are you only doing it based off of how you perceive them? TSA agents should understand that misgendering somebody or dead naming them or asking them to expose a part of their body or expose their genitals in public, it's super dangerous for trans people to be outed like that. That's just another thing that we have to think about, and it's another thing that causes us anxiety, it causes us stress, it causes us dysphoria. And cis people just walk through it like it's no big deal. So now it's become this issue of like, for 15, 20 plus years, we haven't been able to fly for so long because it's so frightening having the looming possibility of an unwanted pat-down search or an unwanted genital inspection. This is basically institutionalized sexual assault, you know? That's a 15-year-old child who is going through airport security and unwillingly being subjected to literally a search of their bodily anatomy. Like, that is institutionalized sexual assault, whether you want to admit it or not. This comment really stuck out to me. This person says, they have things that can see inside suitcases and read the electronic circuit boards of stuff inside of that suitcase, but they have to touch you to see if you're telling the truth about being trans. And again, that is just sexual harassment. That is literally just institutionalized sexual harassment. I don't know. To me, it just seems really sus. The TSA is sus. Bottom line is, the TSA's policies and procedures for, you know, pat-down searches and their imaging portals and everything like that, it's transphobic. Bottom line, it's transphobic. It's just degrading to trans people and gender non-conforming people, and it targets us specifically, which is unfair, and it needs to be changed. If you've had an experience with TSA that was negative and you feel comfortable sharing it, you know, feel free to comment that down below. I would love to have a discussion with people about this. I feel like it's simultaneously not talked about enough and brought up constantly, you know? Like I said, I feel like trans people talk about this all the time and nobody listens to us. Our complaints go unheard. So if you've had an experience that you feel comfortable sharing, comment it down below. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It feels really weird saying that on this type of video. I'm so sorry if you've ever experienced anything like this. You know, just remember, your identity is valid, you are valid, and no stupid computer can ever tell you that your body is right or wrong, okay? I love you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one.